Happy New Year, fellow Fattercasters. How you doing? Yes, we're back again. It's all behind us now. The tree is back in its box, ready for another year when you've got to untangle it all, and the tinsel and everything is all in the carrier bag and stored away under that desk there, which is where it lives. The Christmas cards are all in the recycling bin. It's over. It's gone. It's done and dusted. Yes, welcome to January. I know a lot of people have this thing about doing dry January. Well, my response to that is good health. Cheers. Of course, you can't see now. It could be, kind of a wheatgrass smoothie in there, couldn't it? It isn't. It isn't. It's good old Carlsberg export. Took advantage of the 3 slabs for £23 in Morrison's today, and yes, that is. There's still some of the Christmas beer just kind of hanging around. But fortunately, I don't have to find room for it in the fridge at the moment because the shed is basically the fridge at the moment. It's actually the beer that I'm keeping in the shed is colder than the beer that's actually in the fridge. So yes, cold weather in winter. Who'd have thought it? Some people seem to think it's a crisis, but it's just, isn't it what we just used to call cold weather in winter? Anyway, I won't get on that particular hobby horse. So we're back again. Is anyone else like me not bothering with New Year's resolutions? I did do a New Year's podcast for the Patreon people, and I sort of outlined a few things that I was going to do on there as more as a to-do list, rather than kind of major lifestyle changes about fresh beginnings and a new me and all of that guff that everybody seems to trot out at this time of year. No, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I am going to be getting down to a few things in the new year. One of which I'll tell you about. I'm going to be making a series of videos about. Basically, I'm going to do a new album. Yes, video coming up on that one. So anyway, I'm waffling a bit, so let's have a look at the chat and see who is in and who was Teacher's Pet. First day back after Christmas. We have Terry Day first in, then Dave Phoenix, Rent to Kill, and Grandpa Joe saying... Cheers, John, and all you Fattercasters. I hope you all enjoyed the holidays. Wishing everyone a happy and safe New Year. As for me, I enjoyed being here with John and all of you. Cheers to Beer O'Clock Friday. Well, I'll second that, Joe. Cheers, mate. This, by the way, was a Christmas present off the wife. So you can never type flake again, can you? Because you can't see it. Every pour is a perfect pour. Who else we got? We've got David James. We've got Johnny Random, Peter Nicholson, Rent to Kill, Malcolm Thompson, Dr. Gomez 1, Peter Collins, and Malcolm Spillett. There's Cylon Hybrid and Boulder 64 and Sean House. John Ross is in, and so is Gordo Canuck and Ben Allmark and Jed Ellis, no less. Johnny D is in, so is PFY Guitars, Stephen Hedges, 60s man Chris Ottewell, Stuart Young, and Jack Collins. There's Jimmy James. And who else have we got? David Evans and... excuse me. Ian Clark, Peter S., Blue Sofa Songs, Austin Barrett, Dan Birdston. Nice to see you, mate. Long time no see. We've got Paul Taylor, Jack Collins, and have I said Austin? Yes, I have said Austin Barrett. I haven't said, though, Calby and the Rocco Cat, because they're in, and so is Mr. Theme Tunes, Shane Allen, and Robert Forsyth. Malcolm Spillett's currently drinking one of his Christmas presents. It came in a tin resembling a Fender Twin Reverb and contained Fender Craft Lager and glass. Yeah, keep us updated on that, Malcolm. What's it like? Is it any good? Yes. Anyway, where was I? Sorry, the chat just jumped then. Who else have we got? There's Rent to Kill. I think you've been in already, haven't you, mate? Peter Williamson. Sorry to have missed your festive gig. It wasn't really a gig. It was just me sat here on Christmas Day, kind of downwind of a few beers and just talking rubbish for an hour, much the same as I'm going to be doing tonight. We've got Mott the Hoople, who is saying that his copy of the Guitar Handbook was stolen from his Austin Maxi in 1986, and my video on it yesterday has inspired him to go out and get a copy. Fantastic book. Been enjoying getting my head into that all over Christmas. We've got Cal Texper and William Forrest. Colin Falcon just round the corner from me. He's in, and so is Robin Fawcett. And Phil Leatham, I hope that's how you pronounce it. And Nathan, Searching for Tone, is in. Go and check out his channel as well after when you get a moment. I think you're almost at that monetization, that magic 1,000 figures, aren't you now, Searching for Tone? So if you haven't already been and given him a sub, then do so now. Let's get the chat monetized. Then we've got Rexomatic from Phoenix, Arizona, asking if anyone else is headed to NAMM this year. Well, not me, because it's too far away. And that said, there was a sort of a little mini NAMM in the UK last year in Birmingham, and that's considerably closer, and I just couldn't make it to that either. We've got Mr. Chris in, who's recovering from a broken wrist, had to cancel 3 gigs. Bummer, yes. Yes, no one knows better than I the frustration of a broken bone as a guitar player. Hope you get well soon, mate, and hope it doesn't seriously impede you at all. There's Frank Bolam and Martin Bix. And who else have we got? We've got Robbie F. and anyone else that I've not mentioned. H. Gostos. Gostos, I don't know. I have no idea how that's pronounced, mate. I do apologise, but you're more than welcome. Bill Mumble is in, so is Graham Campbell, and Johnny D's doing Dry January. Oh well, that's it's your choice, mate, but I'm not. Let's have a look. Peter Nichols saying, leaving mine to June, Christmas stays up. There was one of my students, actually. It was, I don't know what month it was, but it was some kind of middle of the year kind of month, and his Christmas tree was, like, we were doing it on lesson on Zoom, and his Christmas tree was still up behind him in the room. It takes all sorts, I suppose. Anyone else? Rubbish Guitar Bloke. Thank you for saying that, mate. Enjoyed your reminiscence on the guitar book. Now we know why you were crap at Morse code. You kept tapping out strumming rhythms. Many a true word said in jest, mate. There's Dingers 63 and Shamrock Seamus. My New Year's resolution is not to have any, he says. And who else have we got? We've got Russell Gibson and Peter Williamson. Thank you so much, sir. You're a gentleman. That's very generous of you. I will promise to spend it all on beer. That is very, very generous of you, sir. Wayne Smith is in, so is Andreas Lundell, and anyone else I've missed. Oh, Sam's Budget Guitars and Jeff Rock, Cushman NYC, and I think this is pretty much everyone. If I've missed your name, Steve Cassidy, he's in. Don't forget, straight after my video, after my live stream tonight, go and check out Steve's video. Stick your link in the chat, Steve. You're a moderator, mate, so feel free to do so. Don't wait for me to tell you it's okay. And that goes for any of the other YouTubers in the chat who've got your little moderator spanner next to your name. Just feel free to chuck your links in the chat and get the word out. There's I'm Not Creative, and anyone else? I think that's pretty much everybody. Apologies. Oh, Graham Norris. There you go, mate. Rounding it off there. I don't want to spend too long just reading out the roll call. But yes, I must say that I hope I can say the same for you chaps, I had an absolutely brilliant Christmas, apart from one day which was eaten up by a tedious task that I spoke about in my Tier 2 Patreon blog today. Yes, there was a certain guitar that I used to play, which we don't see anymore on the channel, which I can't really go into that because for legal reasons. But anyway, there was a link to the person who built that guitar to his website in many of my videos, hundreds of videos. And YouTube took one of those videos down because that link is now dead and it violates their spam policy. So I had to spend best part of a day over the Christmas break kind of tediously going through all of the descriptions of all of about 2.5 years worth of videos, removing that said link. I did try and see, is there a way that I can kind of do it as a kind of overall thing, just in one hit? But if there is a way, I couldn't find a way of doing it. So that sort of rankled a little bit, but it didn't. It was one very small fly in a rather nice jar of ointment, it has to be said. Fantastic time over Christmas. Day at the races, 3 winners, 4 losers. So that's, I look at it like this. The winners that I got at Christmas paid the entrance into the race meeting. So that was a great day out. Highly recommend it. If you've never been, give it a go. Get yourself together with some mates and go and enjoy the atmosphere and a few beers and just kind of hollering at the top of your lungs for your horses as they kind of stumble across the finishing line. I think some of mine are still running, but I did get 3 winners, as I say. Anyway, let's have another sup. Oh dear me, that's good. Right, what we got coming up on the channel this week then? Well, back into the normal swing of things. Sunday's video is a shootout between 2 Telecaster style guitars, and it's another one of the blind test videos where you get to see some footage of Dougal either lounging around or frolicking about. It is a shootout between this rather lovely vintage V75 reissued series guitar, sent to me very, very generously by a fantastic viewer of this channel called Jim. He sent me this guitar, and I've done, I think I've done the review of it already. I can't remember what's gone out. I know I've done the review of it, but I can't remember what other videos I've done with it. But the review video's gone out. Anyway, it's time to do a comparison between that and the Nashville Telecaster that I'm pointing at on the back wall there. That is coming up on Sunday. Then on Monday, a solo analysis. It's the solo analysis week. I do basically a lead guitar lesson 1 week, just looking at the inner workings of lead guitar playing. And then on alternate weeks, I do a solo analysis. Well, it's the solo analysis this coming week. And we're going to be doing probably the first guitar solo that many people heard by a fantastic guitar player called Keith Scott. So you probably know whose band he plays in, but what was the first solo that you heard him play? Because the first big hit that he played on didn't really have a guitar solo. So you might have done what I did. You might have kind of enjoyed that particular hit single and then gone out and bought the album, listened to track 1 of the album and thought, that's a nice solo. That's what we're looking at on Monday. Then on Tuesday, a bit of a philosophical one on Tuesday, really. When I'm talking about the life advantages that being a musician bestows upon you, the things that, other than, just kind of you can play an instrument. And this doesn't necessarily have to be the guitar. It could be any musical endeavor. It brings certain, kind of benefits along with it that you wouldn't necessarily kind of probably think about too much, but they are there. And that's what I'm talking about on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, continuing with the series of videos I've been doing about chord sequences and songwriting and that sort of stuff. We're rounding off the series I've done on the various modes of the major scale, starting with, or finishing rather, with the one that is probably the most obvious one, really, the Ionian mode. Kind of think think sweet and tuneful and melodic and happy and, all of those kind of things. That's what the Ionian mode is all about, and I'll explain more in Wednesday's video. Then on Thursday, I did a video, gosh, when was it? Back in 2023, I guess, about, my pedal board. Well, things have changed pedal board wise since I made that video, and you're going to see how they've changed. What is the current state of my pedal board? What has been added to it? What has been subtracted to it? What has been swapped around? Just what sort of, what sort of state is my pedal board in the beginning of 2025. You're going to find out on Thursday, and that is what's coming up on the channel this week. Excuse me while I prepare myself another flagon of ale. I really love this. I don't. If you're seeing it, I don't know who makes them, but I love the fact that the handle is made from rope. I think that is just super duper cool. And speaking of cool, it's got like a stainless steel lining you can see there, and boy, does it keep your beer nice and cold. Much colder than it would normally stay in, like a beer glass. This is just a perfect pour. It's just a shame you can't see it. There's no excessive head on that at all. No, there isn't. That is perfection. Cheers. Anyway, after a drink of vape. I'm still getting getting a lot of flakes in there in the comments. I'll tell you what. Let's have a look. There it is. So you can't really, that head might be, 5 millimeters thick, or it might be a mile thick. You can't tell, but yeah, it's. Gosh, that's rather bright, isn't it? There we go. I don't know, something about maybe the stainless steel is the liner in that is it does genuinely kind of make an easier job of doing a decent pour. Sam's Budget Guitars, what are you saying there, mate? I'm thinking of buying a Telecaster this year, either a Harley Benton TE20HH or the Squier Sonic Esquire H. Yeah, I would go. I mean, people will always accuse me of being a Harley Benton shill for a while, but the Squire will hold its value, I suspect. But I would go for the Harley Benton because the Esquire, that's just a single pickup guitar, isn't it? And it's just I'm always a bit suspicious of guitars that don't have neck pickups because it is a tone. Not suspicious, but it's just not for me, I would say. So the Harley Benton TE20HH, yeah, I think Johnny Budget Guitar has one of those, doesn't he? And he's done some modding on it and stuff. Steve Cassidy, did you get Agrijack to put the liner in your tankard? Yes, they've installed stainless steel components on many of my things, Steve, but not me beer mug. So yeah, I would out of those two guitars, I would go for the Harley Benton, but seriously consider the Faisley Outlaw Coyote Plus as well, because that's a great little Telecaster guitar. That is like properly good. Or maybe something by Jet. I mean, Jet do some really affordable guitars. Depends what your budget is. But if you're looking at the sort of Squier Sonic money, that's probably, I'm guessing, somewhere in between 100 and 150 quid. I don't know. Maybe they're dearer than that now. But yeah, I think you'd probably get something by Jet or Faisley, which is a little bit nicer for that kind of money. Where are we? What have I missed? Mr. Chris would love one of those drinking vessels. I wish I could tell you where it came from, mate, but this was, as I say, just a Christmas present from the wife. Very hobbity, your tankard. It's it's old JRR's birthday today. Is it really? You see, here's the thing. I remember at primary school, primary school where you, I don't know if it's the same now or if it's the same all over the world, but the last 20 minutes of your day at school and when you were at primary school, which is, I think, what in America isn't that called elementary school, there would be story time where the teacher would read a story, and I remember really enjoying The Hobbit, because it was done over several days, probably several weeks actually. We did The Hobbit there, and I really, really remember really loving the story. And then I tried reading it again as an adult, and I thought, nah, all of this stuff about talking eagles and all that sort of stuff. I couldn't. I found it difficult to suspend disbelief for that, and I never got into Lord of the Rings for the same reason, and it's just all this Dungeons and Dragons stuff just doesn't really appeal to me, I'm afraid. When it comes to reading matter, I haven't read a book in ages, but I am a big fan of an espionage writer called Robert Goddard. And you gotta love a bit of Lee Child, haven't you? Jack Reacher, yes. That's the sort of stuff that kind of floats my boat when I do get the chance to read. Theme Tunes is saying that I'm being really old-fashioned and stick in the mud here, but I really can't cope with a humbucker on a telly. Still queasy about one on a Strat. I'll get my Zimmer frame. Yeah, well, each to their own. I used to be on a home recording forum where, there was one guy on there, lovely guy, sadly no longer with us, who used to think that the biggest act of sacrilege was shoehorning a humbucker into the bridge position of a Strat. It's not a proper Strat anymore. That was his take on things, which is fair enough. It's I don't know. I don't really have. I'm just trying to think now. Have I ever really recoiled from a particular type of pickup on any given guitar? I don't think I have. I'm happy with humbuckers on Strats. I remember there was an incarnation of the Les Paul Studio at some point in the 90s that had like a middle Strat pickup in there, which I thought, oh, that's original. And all of the Gibson purists hated it with a passion, obviously, and I don't think it survived more than a single year's production. But it didn't offend me. Speaking of single cut style guitars with P90s on a Strat, says Anton. Vintage used to do like a Strat style guitar with 3 P90s. It was one of their advanced series, which are criminally underrated guitars. They were discontinued, but it was basically like, I seem to remember. I remember it being like a sonic blue Strat with 3 P90s, and it got hellish good write-ups in all the guitar magazines at the time, I seem to recall. But again, a lot of people obviously didn't care for it, so it wasn't continued. Yes. Anyway, speaking of single cut style guitars with a middle Strat pickup, yes, there's one of those coming up on the channel very soon. I'll leave it there. If anyone can think of a Les Paul-ish guitar with a mini humbucker at the neck and a Strat pickup in the middle position and so on, then yeah. I never checked up to see if anybody got what solo I was talking about. Let's just have a scroll up the chat and see if anybody got that one. Where are we? Because I was too busy blethering. Peter Nicholson saying, notice you got top on, can you afford to put the heating on? The heating is on, mate, but it's complicated. This room, because of the way our heating system works, is always like the poor relation. Steve Cassidy saying, "Will you be? Will there be a follow-up life disadvantages vid?" I've got one planned, but can't rule it out. Anyone had a guess at what solo I'm doing? I'm just having a look to see if anyone. No, it doesn't seem it is. If you have had a guess at it, and I'll just say it was the first guitar solo many people heard by the Summer of '69. No, that doesn't have a guitar solo, and yes, it is somewhat by Bryan Adams. Many of us went out and bought the Bryan Adams album "Reckless" off the back of the "Run to You" single. I certainly did. And I also saw him performing on a long-forgotten TV show in the UK called The Tube, where he did Run to You, Somebody, and Summer of '69. And that was it. I just went out and bought the album, Reckless. And the first track on that album is a song called One Night Love Affair, and that's the solo we're looking at on Monday. So there you go. Nashville Telly, says Lee Asprey. No. Yes, thanks to a very generous chap in the chat this evening, I have got my greasy paws on an Epiphone Nighthawk, and that one's going to be coming up on the channel pretty soon. Anyway, I want to get round to doing the viewers' guitars section in a moment, but I just want to fill you in on this. If I can unlock my phone, that is. Phone doesn't want to unlock, so I've got to put my PIN number in. Sometimes the fingerprint sensor sometimes my fingerprint isn't my fingerprint. That's what the phone tells me. I'm doing a new album this year. I've resolved to do it and document the process in a series of videos, and they'll be starting sort of towards the back end of this month. And if you're doing instrumental music, one of the trickiest things to come up with the titles for the tunes. I'm convinced that's why, when you look at like Mozart and Beethoven's work, it'll be Piano Sonata number 15 in B minor, or that kind of thing, because it's like, well, I don't know what I'm going to call it. So I've decided to grasp the bull by the horns this year, or with this album. And each track, and there's going to be 10 of them, are going to be named after one of Dougal's favourite treats. So I'll give you the track listing for the album now. Not a note of music has been written yet, but the tracks on the new album, the album might even be called Dougal's Treats. The tracks on the album are going to be called Pig's Ear, Gravy Bone, Rawhide, Chicken Feet, Bull's Pizzle, Yak Snack, Stag Bar, Paddy Whack, Shapes, and Buffalo Neck. I think those work as titles for rock instrumentals. I've got to tell you, it's that was after several beers over the Christmas period that I thought, the inspiration for that struck. So yeah, coming up in it's going to be in the Wednesday video slot. I'm going to be documenting doing the album, and it's going to be a case of, okay, what does this title inspire me to write musically? Let's have a look. Pork scratchings. Yeah, Dougal doesn't like pork scratchings. Lick my balls. Steve Cassidy saying, would you consider trying AI vocals? I wouldn't know where to begin, mate. I honestly wouldn't know where to begin. And to be honest, I would say if you were to kind of take a random stab at any track in my music collection, there's probably a better than even chance that you're going to land on an instrumental, because I don't know, I just prefer instrumental music. Anyway, let's head off over to my viewers guitar folder and have a look at what we've got to feast our eyes upon this week. Yes, here we go. there it is. And where do I need? I've forgotten how to do this. Here we go. Yeah, share screen, and go into there, and here we go. So this lovely beast belongs to Chris Otterwell, and it is Hofner 501 Vintage 63, basically a Beatle bass. Something really evocative about those, isn't it? It conjures up just so many images, of Paul in the Fab Four. Lovely looking thing. Never played one. Never really been tempted. But I don't know. Maybe see, because a bass is like, well, I've got one. Do you know what I mean? It's I don't feel, kind of the urge to own more than one bass. But I would like to try one at one point. Then another one from Chris Otterwell. This is one of his own builds. My attempt at a Les Paul special, the first electric I made, all mahogany. If you remember, Chris is the chap who won the Parts Caster competition that I did, when was it, last year sometime? And this is the kind of instruments that he builds. A very, very talented chap, it has to be said. Beautiful looking guitar. Now, I would like to try that one at some point. And he's also made... no, this is he didn't make this. This is one of the guitars that he owns, a David Oddy handmade mandocello. I didn't know there was such an instrument as a mandocello. I can assume that it is basically, a mandolin, but maybe an octave or two lower. But interesting looking thing. Again, I wouldn't know where to begin with that. I don't even know what the tuning is on a mandolin or a mandocello for that matter. Then we've got one of the acoustics that belongs to David Roberts. This is his Ovation Legend. What can you say about Ovation guitars? Solid, dependable, good workhorse electroacoustic guitars. I remember the first time I ever saw one of those was it wasn't one with a sound hole there. It was one of the ones with the with the kind of little sound holes on the upper horn there. Glenn Campbell actually playing one on a TV show in the late 70s or early 80s in the UK. I'm thinking, what is that? But lovely looking guitars, I think. And just, as I say, find a bad review of an Ovation. You just can't. And another one of David Roberts' guitars, a Tanglewood 12-string Premier electroacoustic with added Fishman electronics. I can speak to the efficacy of Fishman electronics. They're in my main acoustic. You've heard me playing acoustic guitar on a bunch of stuff on like usually the Wednesday videos, and you just plug that Fishman system in, and it records absolutely fantastically well. It's not worth miking up if you've got the Fishman thing going on, because it sounds great just straight into the interface. And Len McIver, a little bit late, I forgot to include this on the one before Christmas. This is Len McIver's Christmas acoustics. His guitars are getting a little bit festive. It looks like we've got a couple of Yamahas there, 6 and a 12, and an Epiphone something or other. I do like the sort of Everly Brothers pick guard there, but it's not an Everly Brothers model, I don't think, is it? And then Pablo Hank's JJ1 Cut Classic. Yes, we looked at one of these guitars that Pablo Hank had sent in before Christmas, and not a brand that I can really say that I'm aware of, but he is absolutely smitten with them, and that is just a great looking guitar. Again, talking about solid, dependable workhorse, you just know that's a guitar that's going to get the job done, whatever the situation. It's you can just tell looking at it, I think. And another Pablo Hank guitar, his USA Standard Strat. Nice looking thing. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's as you know, Strats aren't really my thing. I don't dislike them, but that is a good example of the breed. I don't dislike Strats. It's just that they're not in my they're not a podium finish for me. But they have their place. And then there's another Strat there. This is Ralph Clark's little Christmas present to himself, a Player 2 Strat. Something about a red Strat, isn't it? I think red Strat with a rosewood board, it just... I always think Gary Moore when I see that particular spec there. Lovely looking guitar, mate. Thank you to everyone who has sent them in. That's your lot for this week, because I am running rather low on stock for pictures of viewers' guitars. So if you've got guitars you want to send, pictures you want to send in, then you know what to do. jrguitartuition@gmail.com. JR, those are my initials, Guitar Tuition, that's what I do. jrguitartuition, all one word, @gmail.com. Easy enough to remember. Send me your pictures of your guitars and they will appear on the stream. As I say, I am getting pretty low on stock for pictures of guitars. So, if I don't get some more in, then we might not have a Reader's Wives section, as it's been called. I'll tell you the thing is, right? People send me pictures of their guitars with the phrase "Reader's Wives" in the subject line, and often I have to open my email when there's a student here. Sometimes, shall we say, an adolescent who's here with his parents, who's sat on that couch back there. And I open up my email and there's like half a dozen bloody emails in there, each with a tagline "Reader's Wives." Yeah, I have some explaining to do in those situations. So thank you guys for that. It it really does enliven my day. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm gonna have a bevy. Searching for Tony saying, I got some stock for you, a lot of new mistresses to send. You got to unbox them. Okay, mate, yeah. Send the more pictures, the merrier. It's just nice, a nice little regular fixture in the stream. What have I missed while I've been blethering anyway? Bill Mumble saying, owing to my tremendous physique, I need 4-foot arms to play an acoustic. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, Andreas. A lot of people say that. I had an ovation, hard to sit down and play. It wanted to slide down in my lap. I've never noticed that. But it is something that I have heard from many quarters, that an ovation can be a little bit slippery. I find that a Strat is a bit like that, funnily enough. I find that a Strat never wants to kind of sit easily because it's just so kind of curvy and there's no sort of hard edges to kind of grab any purchase. Where are we? Again, Anton saying a painter player sitting down always slipped off my lap. Anything else that I've missed of note? No, I just basically you're all talking to yourselves as I'm kind of blethering away here, which is nice. Robbie F, what you saying there, mate? Is it okay to send you and Searching for Tone the same pics? Of course it is, mate. Yes, why not? Why wouldn't it be? One of my first guitars, Austin Barrett, one of my first guitars was a Heyman, and I thought I might get one. Well, I can't find that one. Okay, Heyman, never heard of those. Sean Palmer saying, I'm under orders to build another house so I can move in with all my guitars. Oh, yes. Yes, you see, that is... that I was Phil McKnight was talking about this on one of his podcasts, the Know Your Gear podcast, which I never seem to get to watch the whole thing. I just watch the clips that he puts up because, I don't have time to sit and watch like a 2-hour YouTube video or live stream rather. But yeah, he was saying about that, about the number of guitars he's got, and he's in the same boat as me because it's what we do for a living. We don't have to do the special pleading with with the other half. It's I'm very fortunate in that regard. Theme tunes. Oh, wasn't Heyman what Shergold guitars were called before they were called Shergold? That sounds plausible. I don't know, but yeah, it would make sense, I suppose. Mr. Chris saying clag some draft excluder on the back of an Ovation. If that works, mate, then that sounds like a good tip. Where are we? Anyway, shall we get round to viewers' tales? I think that's what I need to do right now. So I'll just mention that if you have any stories of a rock and roll nature, they don't have to necessarily be 100% true. They just have to be entertaining. As long as I've got that little kernel of truth in there, feel free to gild the lily a little bit. Just any kind of brush with fame or any kind of guitar or music-related anecdote that you think would benefit from a wider airing, then you know what to do. Same email address as before, jrguitartuition@gmail.com, and ping them over to me, and they will get read out in this. This will be getting a bit like, who's that, Simon Bates show on the radio, wasn't it? Where he would read out readers' letters. This one comes from a chap called Derek. And he says, "Hi, John. I've got a few rock and roll stories for you, but I thought this one was particularly apt for this time of year." This was just before Christmas. Back in the 80s, I was in a band with a guy from Ormskirk, which is a small market town just outside Liverpool, and he told me the following story. One Saturday afternoon at some point during the mid-80s, a rumour went round the town that Robert Plant was in Woolworths signing copies of his latest album. This was during a fallow period in his career when his inexplicably popular blues covers band had folded. I actually liked that as well. The Honey Drippers, they were called, weren't they? I was into them. But anyway, that band had folded and he was making records with Phil Collins. Anyway, my mate went round to Woolworths and sure enough, there was Robert Plant sitting behind a desk signing records. My mate dutifully got in line with the hope of getting his Led Zeppelin album signed when some little lad of 7 or 8 marches into the front of the queue and points at Robert Plant and says, "I know you, you're him, aren't you?" And then starts singing, "So here it is, Merry Christmas, everybody's having fun." Robert Plant smiled at the little boy and said, "Yes, that's right, son," and give the kid's mother a knowing look as if to say, "It's okay, I'm a parent too, I understand." That's a heartwarming story, isn't it? That is a really nice story. So again, if you've got any stories of that kind of nature, a brush with fame, or just some kind of entertaining, interesting, or amusing rock and roll guitar music related anecdote, then ping them over to me, jrguitartuition@gmail.com. Sean Palmer. One of my uncles was the drummer in Hank Marvin's first band when they were apprentices at Vickers Armstrong in Newcastle. No, that's a claim to fame, isn't it? Dave B agrees with me. Honey Drippers were great. Yep. And Sean Palmer saying, no rock and roll tales that are printable. Indeed. Craig Stamon's in. How are you, Craig? Nice to see you, mate. Hope you had a happy New Year and a fantastic Christmas. Cylon Hybrid saying, my wife bought me a Glary guitar. A thin line, was blown away with the quality. The sound is interesting. We'll be looking at a Fender thin line. Is that like a thin line telly kind of thing? Did I have one of those? I had a thin line telly, a budget one for. I can't remember if it was a Glary or a Faisley, but one of the two probably came out of the same factory. Truth be told. My knees hurt, saying Flying V for me is great to play sitting down. Hold it in the classical guitar style. Yeah, I know that Flying V players always say that, that's the way to hold them sitting down, but even then they just feel spiky and uncomfortable. It's I don't know. it's, I don't know, just something about a flying V just always seems a little bit, a little bit medallion man, not quite Liberace sort of territory, but it always just seems a little bit sort of, I don't know, like you need a pair of leather trousers and a shirt open to the waist, and like big gold medallion on your hairy chest. It's not really putting one of those guitars in my hands. It's like putting a Rolex on a chimp. Is the way I look at it. Colin Falcon saying it was a glary thin line. I commented on how light it was when I picked it up. Yes, it was indeed. I remember you. Yeah, you were around here when I had it. I think yes, you were. So anyway, excuse me, chaps. I'm just going to top me ale up again. Yeah, and once again, this will be an absolutely perfect pour. No ridiculously foamy head on this one, I can guarantee it. Actually, it isn't bad. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. As I say, genuinely, I think it's the stainless steel kind of liner which aids with the good pour. Flying V. Sorry, my knees hurt. Saying Flying V is metal to me. It may be my age. Metal rules. Yeah, I can see that. But again, Albert King, Flying V. Lonnie Mack, Flying V as well. So there's a contingent of blues players who would use a Flying V. Gordo Cannock, what you saying there, mate? We'll send you a story from the mid-'80s when I met Ray Davies at Pineapple Studios in London. A long story that I will condense. Yes. Okay. A Ray Davies story. I'll say now, it will either be he was an absolute gent or he was an absolute arsehole, because those are the two stories you hear about Ray Davies. I'll wait to see which one it is. Malcolm Spillett makes a good point there, saying Andy Powell in Wishbone Ash was never a medallion man. He played a Flying V. Yes, he did, but then again, he's Andy Powell, and he could walk on water, really, couldn't he? Mr. Chris 5254 is making the same point. Gordo Cannock saying this one is from the gent genre. I keep hearing that term gent as a style of like kind of extreme metal. I don't understand what it means, and I'm not curious enough about it to find out, shall we say. Forzilla is saying, does the metal change the beer flavour a wee bit, or is that some Tonewood talk? I don't know, mate. It's just, I think when you're talking about, kind of Pilsner lager and, you get it cold enough, it's any sort of semblance of subtlety in the flavour is lost straight away, I think. I can't tell the difference between drinking beer out of a can and drinking it out of a drinking vessel. The only reason I don't drink it out of a can is because the act of pouring it into, a glass or a tankard is a good way of getting rid of the excess gas, which, as you can tell, I have no shame. I belch and sniff, and vape and just kind of make all kinds of bodily noises on air, some of which you don't notice, thankfully. But, it would be even worse if I was drinking it out of the can, because that does make you kind of, kind of get a bit windy, shall we say. Anyways, yeah, join us for the live stream every Friday where we talk about music and guitars and many, many other things. I think, once again, we're into the many, many other things kind of territory there, aren't we? Dave B is saying, belching is acceptable when drinking beer. Blue Sofa Songs is saying, is the stainless steel tankard easier to drink from? It takes some getting used to because the thickness of the wall is markedly different. It took me about one can of beer to acclimatise to it, but there you go. Peter Nicholson is saying 1970s, a pint of beer was 23 pence. It shows you just how much of a nerd I am that when I was regularly shopping in Aldi, I was buying their sort of Pilsner lager. I think it's called Saint Etienne, which is a nice drop if you're anywhere near an Aldi. Because a can isn't a pint, it's 440 millimeters, and there's 568 milliliters in a pint. And I was bored, so I did some kind of calculations, just kind of got my phone out and got the calculator out and did some sort of number crunching. And I worked out that the Saint Etienne beer from Aldi per pint cost me in, I think, 2022, the same as what I was paying for a pint of lager in the Students' Union bar in 1984 when I went to college. So there you go. 1984 prices in 2022. You can't fall off at that, can you? My dad used to say, my dad never used to say, never drink from the bottle because rats pee on the bottle in the warehouse. It could be true, mate. It could be true. David James has still got his Heyman made by Burns. Wasn't there some connection between Burns and Shergold anyway? I seem to remember hearing or reading something about that way back in the mists of time. So let's have a look and see what else we've missed. Austin Barrett saying, I liked it better when there was more guitar stuff. Well, let's try and get it. I'm only responding to the chat. So, Mott the Hoople is saying, aluminium cans, in my humble opinion, taint the taste, guys. I would agree with you on that when it comes to, a traditional English ale, something like a Theakston's or something like that. You put that into a can and it does taint it. But lager, I can't say I notice the difference. Jerry White is saying, one nice advantage to the Flying V is that they stand up great and will lean against your amp if you don't have a stand. True. What else have we got? Johnny D is saying, don't get me started on the Tonewood debate. The Tonewood debate is settled. We had James from Agrajag Guitars on, who knows a thing or two about guitar construction. And he basically said, it's hogwash. There may be a difference in acoustic resonance, but that doesn't translate to the recorded sound. And I'm going to be doing I don't want to give too much away, but I'm going to be doing a video where I test that and possibly debunking one of my own theories. What I always say is that, well, okay, if the wood makes no difference, how come a 335 sounds different to a Les Paul? One's made of solid wood and the other one's made of like a big lump of fresh air. So I'm going to be testing that. I'm hoping to be getting my hands on a 335 and we're going to be testing it out against a Les Paul. Admittedly, they won't have the same pickups in, but it's going to be that aside. As it does the semi-hollow construction of a 335 make that much of a difference? I've always thought it did, but am I spurious in that thought? We're going to find that out in, as I say, an upcoming video. Where are we? Johnny D saying snake. I think you meant snake oil, mate. GRB Aquatic saying, we live in Australia. We in Australia will send you as much Fosters as you need. We hate that crap. Yeah, well, I don't know. It's. Well, I can only presume it is true that the Fosters that we get over here, which is awful. I always thought, well, maybe it's different in Australia. Maybe they keep the good stuff for themselves because the stuff over here isn't shipped over from Australia. It's brewed under license. So I'm just, but obviously it is the same over there. At least it's not Castlemaine, mate. At least it's not Castlemaine 4X, because that was a pretty low point for the lager industry, wasn't it? Yes, dear me. The TV ads were good. I seem to remember that laughing at the TV ads for Castlemaine 4X, but no, it wasn't. It wasn't good. We used to have an Australian bar in Middlesbrough, just down the road from me, called Walkabouts, and I remember being in there and being quite partial to a pint of Victoria Bitters. Or Victoria Bitter, VB it was called. And that was like, I seem to remember, sort of like part way between a lager and a light ale. It was really nice. I'm Not Creative is saying the neck pickup on the 335 is a little bit clearer and a little bit less bottom end than on a Les Paul in my experience. I both and have the same set of pickups in a couple of times. Well, as I say, I'm going to be doing a side-by-side between a Les Paul and a 335. So we shall find out. Jerry White is saying, by the way, John, keep the theory vids coming in 2025. Not the most watched channel, but great vids. Well, thank you very much for that. I am a bit of a music theory kind of nerd, really, and I do enjoy making those videos because I remember, that sort of light bulb moment of discovery when you finally figure out what mixolydian means and what the difference between a flattened third and a major third means and all that sort of stuff. And I enjoy it. Was just really, really fascinating to me when I figured that stuff out or was shown it or read about it or whatever. And that is the kind of the thrill I want to try and pass on when I make these videos. As you say, not the most watched videos, but that is going to be all kind of bundled in with the new album video. I think it is going to be called Dougal's Treats, the album, and the tracks, as I said earlier, things like Gravy Bone and Pig's Ear and stuff like that will be all that. So I'll be explaining how what my thought processes are as I'm writing and kind of coming up with the chord sequences and the riffs and stuff like that. As I say, not a note of music has been written yet. Malcolm Spillett is saying, John, have you covered the Locrian mode? No, I haven't, and I won't be because it's about as much use as an ashtray on a motorbike. I for 30 years more I've tried to find music which is like properly in the Locrian mode. I don't just mean like a few bars where it kind of slips into a sort of a Locrian kind of thing and then resolves elsewhere. The problem with the Locrian mode is that the thing about modes is excuse me, is that they need a chord to resolve to. And the Locrian mode is based on a diminished chord, and you can't really resolve to a diminished chord because they are an inherently unstable chord. So, I just don't really think that the Locrian mode is one that can be used, and I remain to be convinced. It's as I say, it's the musical equivalent of the human appendix. Maybe it had a use one time when we were kind of swimming in the oceans and when we were all fish as a swim bladder, but it doesn't really serve any purpose in contemporary usage. Anyway, chaps, that was a bit of a nerdy theory way to end the video, or the live stream, but that's the way it goes. Head off over to Steve Cassidy's channel now, catch his video, and I'll see you all on the next one. Thanks for turning up and watching a fat, bald northern bloke talk absolute cobblers for now. It's been a blast, and I'll keep on doing it till you're sick of me. But for now, time, gentlemen, please.